Hi guys. Hi, how are you? So my name is Susan. I'm one of the owners of Road Races Events. My partner Karen is over here on the wall. So we just wanted to thank you guys all for coming. Part of our mission is to kind of build the running community and to really grow the Rhode Island running scene. So what we've done is we're going to host, free clinics like this. We're invited Mike Silva tonight and Coach Peter Russo from Russo Racing. So the events that we'll have, they'll all be free. It's just an attempt to make everybody a better runner and enjoy it a little bit more. So we are live streaming on Periscope tonight, although I don't think I'm in the scene, but that's okay. So if you want to share it or you have other people that might be interested in what we take away, you can watch. From what I understand, I've never done this before. You're going to be able to watch it again later, so you'll have a lasting memory of Mike and Peter. So after we do have pizza coming later for you guys. So there's pizza here, and there's some beer back there that's been donated from both Domino's and from Narragansett. So enjoy that. And if anybody does want to sign up for any of our races, we host the Providence Marathon, Bristol Half Marathon, the Jamestown Half Marathon, and what's called the Ocean State Marathon and Half Marathon. That's in October. There's some information there, sign-up sheets. Anybody who wants to sign up tonight will get 10% off their race registration. And then anybody that signs up for 3 or 4 of those races, they get this really cool training kit as a gift for signing up for 3 or 4 of the races. So we do have, so Boom is our on-course just sponsor. So if anybody's ever tried it, there's some free samples here for you to try. There's a couple little swaggy items that we do have for sale if anybody's interested. So if anybody's had any questions afterwards, we'll stick around for a bit, but I'm going to let Mike kind of run the show because that's what everybody's here for. So off to Mike.
Can they have beer while they're...
Well, they can. If you guys want to have beer, you can. And Narragansett gave some swaggy stuff over there.
If anyone wants a beer, grab it. Go grab it now. It's still cold. Klaus. It's not German though.
I know, that's awesome.
No, seriously, if everyone wants one, go grab it. So, how many new runners here tonight?
In life?
What's that?
In life?
In life. No. New to road races? All right.
What's the question? I'm sorry, Michael.
I just don't want everyone about the beer drinking guy. It is. All right, so my name is Michael Silva. Thank you for coming. I'm happy to be a part of Road Races and what these guys are trying to do in the running community. It kind of mirrors what my passion and mission is, myself and with my company. So I started a company called Foundation Performance about 16, 17 years ago. We are basically a physical therapy practice. We also do fitness, preventative measures, educational talks, all sorts of different things like that. We have 3 offices, one right up the road here in Pawtucket, one in Rhode Island, Plainville, Mass. I'm going to be hanging around as well. Try not to talk too long and put you guys to sleep so you can see the cool guy Peter Russo after me. But I'll be hanging around if you guys have any questions. Okay, so we're going to talk about running injuries, which is not the most fun topic, but I'll try to make it as entertaining as I can. Give you guys some quick advice on what you can do to avoid them, prevent them, and then what happens when you do get them. Feel free to holler out questions as I'm going. I got a lot of information to cover, and we have a short amount of time, so I'm going to talk really fast. Okay? If I start to mumble, just let me know. Okay, so we're going to talk about a thing called the running cycle. It is basically the typical scenario that I've seen over my almost 20-year career working with runners, and what happens when you run and start to get these injuries, okay? So, new people to running or old, this may all sound pretty familiar. You train really well, and then you pick one of these great 6 events and you show up and you race. Felt good, you crossed the finish line, you got the endorphins going, runner's high, awesome. So now you start training harder, tired. Then what happens? Everything goes well, the next race, one of these 6 again. You race even faster, now you're really pumped up. So you train even harder. Then you feel some pain. But don't do anything about it. Don't worry about it. Just ignore it. And then you train harder. That's proper English in my world. I don't know about anyone else's world. But so you're trying to ignore it. It's not getting any better. You train harder. So then you get to the 3rd beautiful race. And what happens? Race poorly. Still don't do anything. Now just start speed limping. Through your training, limp, do whatever you need to. Just keep going. Don't worry about it. It's going to go away. Then you get to Google. Pain lateral hip. And you find out you've got some rare disease that only Aborigines have somewhere in another part of the world. But Be careful when you Google. It can be really dangerous, but you're going to do it anyway. Then you try one more race, and you don't finish. Now you finally realize you have a problem, right? You couldn't finish the race. So you go to your doctor, and then he gives you some air. Not this kind of air. Advil, ice, and rest. Sound familiar? Yeah, just take these, give it a week or two, rest, go back to running. So you return, then you repeat, and it goes exact same thing. Sound familiar to anyone?
Yes.
All right. So that's a typical cycle, but I think there's a better cycle. Really simple. You run, you feel pain, you get help, return to running, and you don't go back into that cycle. Sounds pretty easy, right?
Yes.
But the first thing you need to do is acknowledge your hurt, acceptance. Hi, I'm Mike and I have a running injury. Thanks for being here, right? Accept that you have it, do something about it, okay? All right. So let's talk a little bit about specific injuries. So in a second, I'm going to show you with some markers all the injuries I've treated on runners, okay? And I'm not kidding either. I've had neck pains and headaches due to running, and then obviously most of them are below the belt, but I've seen it all. Because running is a full body event, it's not just below the hips. As you can probably tell from the big arrow, knee is the #1 injured area, okay? Anyone tell me another really popular one? What's #2 in line? Okay.
ITO.
Okay, so IT band I would put as a knee. That's your IT band right there. So yeah, lower leg and foot. Shin splints, plantar fasciitis, heel spurs, that type of thing.
Lower back pain.
Yeah. That's just a common for everyone. And just because we run and we think we're really cool and we're in shape doesn't mean we can avoid back pain like 85% of the population. But there's a different reason why we'll get it. But the point is, just because you're hurt and you're a runner doesn't mean it's a running injury. And just because you're a runner and you're in really good shape, that doesn't mean you're going to avoid some of the life injuries as well. So, who gets hurt? I apologize for the gross picture. Okay? When I was 16, this is what my muscles look like. Now that I'm 42, they're starting to look like beef jerky.
Oh, it's terrible.
Isn't it? I know, it's gross. Sorry. But I gotta paint the picture. So who gets hurt? The really young people get hurt, but also the older people get hurt. We're not as pliable, we don't have as much blood flow, not as much lubrication in our body. Again, that's a visual you guys will not forget, sorry. But this is kind of what happens as we get older, we dry out. So, in my experience, the golden years of running, 18 to 38, those 20 years, people are like, he's nodding, those are your best years, right? Right? And then some people can go even further. I've got guys in their 70s competing internationally that I work with. And I got people that can't make it out of their 30s, they gave it up because they're injured. So those are the best years, but just remember, if you have kids, I don't see anyone too young here, if you have kids really young, they're going to get hurt because they don't have the body control. As we start to get older, things happen as well. So who gets hurt more, men or women? Shout it out.
Woman.
Who said men? Keep drinking. All right. When you get to adult life, it's pretty even, but for the most part, women, you guys lead the pack. Especially young women, teenagers, young females. There's a bunch of different reasons, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but they tend to be the most injured and the most re-injured. So those of you here who happen to be in that category as female, just you got to be a little more astute with these things, okay? All right, so how do injuries happen? Stress. It's kind of a bad picture, sorry. That poor guy is stressed. Chihuahuas are stressed enough even without the hovering death above them, but anyway. So, runners get hurt from repetitive stress. If you think about it, when you run, you're leaping from one foot to the next repeatedly, hopefully at a fast pace and hopefully for many miles for your training. So it's the pure definition of a cumulative trauma or repetitive stress injury. It's the same type of thing. What happens with a running injury, either there's too much stress on the tissue and then over time it just builds up and you can't tolerate it and an injury occurs. Too much stress for different reasons, which we'll talk about in a second. I like to use an analogy of a bucket. So you guys are all buckets right now. Here, don't mind the other bucket, this water is pouring in here. So think of the water coming in as all the stress that you're putting your body through, okay? All the training that you do is stress. Stress can be a very good thing. There's a thing called eustress, EU stress, which is good. Our body can actually get stronger when we have the right amount of stress. If we have too much, then we lead to injury, okay? So let's just visualize as you're training, you're pouring water into your bucket, okay? You want to train more, because remember that running cycle, you raced well, you're going to do an extra workout, you're going to meet your coach on the track, you're going to do extra miles with your team, you're not going to rest properly, so you just keep pouring more water into that bucket. Eventually that bucket's going to overflow, okay? When it overflows, you're now injured. If you can keep that water level below this line, you can stay healthy. So how do we do that? Through different recovery techniques, okay? So each one of these holes could represent something. This hole could be getting 8 hours of sleep every night. How many here get at least 8 hours of sleep every night? Raise your hand. Liars. Do you? Good, I'm kidding. All right, 2% of us? I mean, maybe 3 to 4 people raise their hand. We're all supposed to get at least 8 hours. Teenagers need 9 to 10. As you get older, you need a little bit less. No one's that old here where they can say 6 or 7 is enough. You all need 8 hours of sleep. We don't get it. But if you did, that's a form of recovery. Your body can now repair from everything you did. You got a hole pouring water out, guess what? You can do an extra workout that day. This one may be foam rolling. How many of you guys foam roll regularly? More, awesome. Okay, that's a form of recovery. You're doing something good for your body. Now you can tolerate another workout. How many people strength train? Awesome. There's another hole. Guess what? You can start tacking in more workouts. How many stretch regularly? Yeah, a little less, but that's okay. It's still good. All these things, you get the gist, all the positive things you do for your body. You're poking holes in this bucket. Now you can train harder. You can put more miles on. You can do more workouts. You can do more races. If you don't do these positive things, sooner or later your bucket gets full, overflows, and then you get hurt. Does that make sense to everyone? It's kind of a simple way of looking at it. I was talking to someone earlier in my career when I really got into the running and I was presenting, I was talking about gait mechanics and your angle of your tibia should be at 35 degrees and blah, blah, blah. I talked about all these numbers and tried to get you how to hit your foot properly on the ground, which is important. But guess what? 90% of the people I was talking to were dehydrated, malnourished, under-rested, overstressed. I don't care how your foot hits the ground. You're going to get hurt and you're not going to be able to take advantage of good running or a good coach like Peter telling you what to do because you're just wasted. Does that make sense? Awesome. So there's another picture for you to keep in your mind. For you to run at PR pace, to be at the peak condition, to peak for that race, to run your fastest half, your fastest 10K, your fastest marathon, you are walking a fine line between being in the best shape of your life and crashing with an injury. Okay? Because you need to push yourself to the limit. You're not going to get better if you don't train hard. Right, Peter? Is that true?
Yeah.
So you have to put time, effort, and energy into training. If you train too hard, you're going to get hurt. If you train hard enough where you're getting better and better, you can stay on the other side of the injury, now you're running at PR pace and you're going to get better. Okay? Because how many of you here run because you really want to race faster? Hey, that's not everyone's goal. Some people just want to run to drink beer. Some people want to run so they can go out to eat more. Some people want to run because it's a stress relief. Some people want to run because it's a social part of their life. Whatever the reason is, we got to keep you running, and all this advice will help. No matter if you're trying to get to the Olympics, trying to just do your first 5K. Okay? How am I doing so far? Too fast?
No.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about why we get hurt. So I usually categorize into two different groups. You have the extrinsic factors, things outside of your body, things you can't control. Tutus. I'm not talking about the skirt that Peter's going to wear when he talks. Did you bring it?
I did.
All right, awesome. Too much, too fast, too quick, too hard. Peter, how many times have you seen that with your people that finally come to get professional help?
They come to me after.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not doing that.
But tutus are usually mistakes that runners make, coaching flaws if they don't have a great coach. You do too much, too fast, too quick, too hard, you're going to get hurt if you're not ready for it. So the beauty of what someone like Peter will do, he can help guide you. You don't do too much, you don't go too fast, you don't go too hard, you don't do that many miles, you're going to get hurt, so we kind of keep that down. That's a big cause of many of the injuries we see. Footwear, don't worry about it, you guys don't even need sneakers. Sorry. Is that right? I didn't know you were back there, Eric. I'm sorry. Everyone, that's Eric, runs the store. Eric from Roadrunner. I like to make fun of sneakers when he's here. Sneakers are important, but I think we've put way too much focus on that they're the cause of all injuries. They're not. If you come to a place like this and they put you in the right shoe, sleep at night, take a deep breath, there's not, in my opinion, Eric can disagree, but there's not a huge difference between last year's model and this year's model, or this brand and that brand. As long as you're in the right shoe. Some people need motion control shoes, some people need stability shoes, some people need shoes that allow them to pronate. There's all different reasons. If you come to a store like this, they put you in the right shoe, don't worry about it. As long as you're in that right class of shoe, which they'll help you with, then you can cross that off the list as an extrinsic cause of injuries. Surface, real quickly, there's only one surface that's been proven to increase your risk of injury, and that's concrete. Sidewalks. So if you tend to run on sidewalks, if it's safe, get on the tar. If it's safe, get on a trail. If it's safe, get on a track. Try to mix it up. But that's the one surface that has been proven to increase your risk. And we talked about this with the bucket theory. Lack of adequate recovery. So a lot of people, when they hear the word recovery, they just think rest. Rest is just one form of recovery. All those things we talked about are forms of recovery. Strengthening, stretching, foam rolling, getting your sleep, drinking enough water, eating your vegetables, all that kind of stuff. Okay? All right, let's talk about some intrinsic factors. These are things that you might not be able to control. The number one reason you get hurt is because you were hurt before. Kind of weird, because how'd you get hurt that first time? There's got to be a reason, right? Probably because of a tutu or one of those things we talked about. But the number one reason is you got hurt. Me as a physical therapist, I hate this, but it's in the research, not just with runners. The number one reason people get hurt is because they had a previous injury. If you went to therapy and got good therapy, we should solve that problem as therapists. If we didn't do our job well, or you didn't take our advice, that's your fault, not mine, but then something's wrong. If you can recover fully, you will lessen your risk of getting hurt again. That's why it's really important to listen to the medical professionals. Postural issues. How many here have scoliosis? Don't be shy, raise your hand. All right. How many people have a really flat arch? Like an Alabama floor sucker. It's right down there. All right. How many people have one leg longer than the other? That's probably why you have a flat arch. Right? So those are things that will increase your risk of injury. Doesn't mean you can't do anything about it. You might not be able to change that your femur is an inch longer, but you can put things in your shoes to help that out. You can do corrective strengthening measures if you have a scoliosis, but there are some postural reasons why you might get hurt. BMI, body mass index. The bigger you are, the more impact you have, the more injury you can get. Okay? Bone density. Anyone here have a bone density issue they know of? Okay.
Small, yeah.
What is it?
I do have a small.
Small one, okay.
Yeah.
So you got to be aware of it because you're more at risk for a stress injury to the bones. If you get many stress injuries, stress fractures, stress reactions, you might want to get checked to see if you have a bone density issue. Tends to be more common in females, but it happens to males as well. Too tight or too loose. Back when I started, I used to stretch everyone. I used to think stretching could cure any disease or any problem and it can get you to the Olympics. I overstretched a lot of people, and I might have gotten people more hurt. Don't tell them. I don't know who they are, but I might have. So it's not all about stretching. You can be too loose, okay? But you can also be too tight. So what I tell most of my clients, let's get you into the normal range, and let's keep you there. Just because you can wrap your ankle around the back of your head does not mean you're going to be a better runner or a less injured runner, okay? Weakness is a big one. I love this one because that's easy to correct. You strength train properly, find out where your weaknesses and your deficits are, correct them, absolutely is going to lower your risk of injury. I'll take strengthening over stretching now in the proper movements and through full range of motion. You're going to get looser and you're going to get stronger all in one, okay? Abnormal menstrual cycle. Some of us here will have one, some of us may not. I haven't had one yet. But again, the young girls who are too active and maybe amenorrheic, they're not getting their period, that could be a problem. But also as we approach menopause, there's the other end of the spectrum. And then in between, there's huge hormonal influences, which is, I think, is why female runners get hurt more than male. I do think there's an influence with that. So I can talk a ton about this, but one thing, ladies, track your periods, your cycles. If you have a chronic injury, see if there's a trend. Typically about 3 to 7 days before the period, on a lot of my female athletes, their pain gets worse, or they're more apt to hurt themselves, and they have done research with that. So that's not the time to up your workouts. If you tend to be you get a lot of physical symptoms from it, don't up your workouts during those 3 to 7 days. Maybe take it easy. Okay? Nutrition and hydration, we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Got to stay hydrated, you got to eat well. Could be, or if they get extra stress at work, or they have an emotional or even a psychological problem that increases their stress levels, they will get hurt more and they will recover much more slowly. So, you got to control. And that's a different kind of stress than the other picture I showed you with the chihuahua. All right, so real quick, this is a great picture. Right here, I flipped it around so this number's backwards. This is a high school girl we worked with. She came in, she had chronic knee issues, chronic shin issues. We didn't do too much work down here. This angle here is 10.3 degrees. This should be pretty horizontal. She was so weak in her hips, on this picture would be her left hip, that her pelvis dropped down. As it dropped down, it caused extra stress onto the stance leg, it caused extra stress onto the side of her hips. She came, we did a little tissue work to the legs, but she had her pain. Then we got her stronger. This is her a year later. Almost perfectly level. Same girl a year later. Guess what? She hasn't been in our office in over a year and a half. When we do our job well, it's bad for business because people don't come back. But I like that. Talk about postural issues. This was a gentleman who actually is not that hurt, but we did an analysis with him. He has 148 degrees of pronation on this side. He only has 164. Actually, the lower number is worse. We couldn't see this in real time, and he didn't really know there was an issue, but he had a one-sided problem. It wasn't the end of his training. He could keep training, but that's a pretty big difference. But we couldn't tell that. We got him on video. We saw it. We helped get his feet stronger and helped correct his leg, making it stronger as it hits the ground, and we can help his pain out. Okay, you got hurt. So now what the hell are we gonna do? Don't worry about it. Just take a bunch of these. You'll be fine. Aleve, aspirin, Advil, whatever you want. Just take it. How many use these when you're hurt? Don't lie. Okay. How many know that it's not probably the best thing to do, but still do it? I'm keeping my hand up because even though I'm giving this advice, I take it. So they've done studies. If you take these too long, they're going to impede your healing in the long run. Okay. When you get hurt, the inflammation that's created is part of the healing process. If you put a halt to that for too long, you're not going to heal properly. Okay? So use these as needed. If you have a lot of pain and you can't sleep and you can't get to work, then use it. Not for too long. People that use this just to get through a workout, that is absolutely the kiss of death. You will get hurt, and the injury will be much worse because you're masking a problem that your body's trying to tell you to fix. This doesn't fix much. It just masks it, okay? You guys have heard of the RICE principle? Rest, ice, compression, elevation. Some people put, excuse me, the protect first, so price. The guy who invented this, the doctor who invented this in 1973, 76, actually has been quoted over the past 5 years saying, yeah, that phrase took off, but we were wrong. We iced and rested way too many people. We could have got them better faster, and they could have been hurt less. So sorry about that, guys. And what he came to say is that the best thing ice does is it kills your pain, but it's decreasing blood flow. Blood flow is like the ambulance getting to the accident. If you decrease the blood flow, or if the ambulance hits a traffic jam and can't get there, people aren't getting the help, your injury's not getting the help without blood flow. That's the big problem with it. There's a new phrase out there, meth. Not the kind of meth we can buy down the street here. Bad joke, I'm so sorry. But anyway, movement, elevation, traction, and heat. It hasn't really taken off in the medical world yet, but I've been doing more of this than this with a lot of my injuries, and finding people are getting better, getting them back faster, and hopefully they're not coming back with the same injury. There is some call for ice and medication. It's not totally passe, and don't do it at all, but I would definitely talk to a medical professional and see if you're doing it too much. Any questions with that? Anybody?
What's traction?
Traction is when we take, let's say I sprained my wrist, I take that and I actually stretch the joint out. So for an ankle sprain, we get there and we pull it. Kind of seems oxymoronic when you sprain your ankle. I'm going to sit there and yank on it. You probably don't want me to do that, but it actually really helps healing. Gets rid of the swelling and really, when you injure your fibers, things get all messed up and mangled. That helps kind of stretch it out and align everything really nicely. Okay? Great question. But don't worry about if the drugs don't work, just throw some tape on it. You'll be fine. How many have taped it? How many have taped it? Right? There is a need sometimes for bracing and taping. A lot of it is just, if it helps you mentally, fine. But if you rely on this to fix your problem, then you're missing a lot as well. Okay? Get help. I put this picture on there because it's the only picture you'll find of me and Peter Russo together. Guess which one's me and which one's Peter? But no, seriously, and I'm not sitting here, this is not a sales pitch. There are plenty of good therapists and chiropractors out there that can help runners. You get pain, remember the better cycle I showed? Get help right away. Google may help you, but that's like 3% of the time you get the right advice that's perfect for you. Just get help rather than trying all those other things. The quicker you get help, the quicker you get back to running. I guarantee that. The longer you go through that first cycle I showed you, the longer it's going to take you to get better. Okay? So now let's talk about prevention. How am I doing on time? Does anyone have the time?
6:28.
All right, we're good. Got 3 hours. We're good. You guys all right? CP break? All right. So, hydration, proper nutrition, foam rolling, dynamic warm-up, motion, strength, adequate rest. We're going to go into detail about all of those really quickly, though. I'm just touching the surface on all these topics. If you want to be really bored, we can talk about it another time. Hydrate, really simple. If your urine looks like the beer that Klaus is drinking, you're dehydrated.
Drink more beer.
Drink more beer. Not listen to this guy. No, it's really that simple. We can talk about, and I think people get too tight and go, well, what's your body weight? How much do you lose during the workout? Is your pee clear? Awesome, you're drinking enough. Are you thirsty? If you are, you're not drinking enough. Keep it simple. Drink water, clear pee, don't be thirsty. You just had enough hydration. That's your hydration lesson right there. This I just pulled off the internet. There's nothing really scientific about this. I did. I Googled yellow urine, and this came up. So if you're down here, that's what I do. I don't watch TV. I Google weird pictures like that. But it's really that simple. You don't have to make it complicated. There's enough things that are complicated in life. We don't need to make that one of them. Proper nutrition. Do you eat colorful fruits and vegetables? Awesome. Those of you who are meat eaters, not vegetarians, does what you're eating have eyes? If it's a colorful vegetable, if it has eyes, you're doing okay. Those of you who are vegetarians, don't take the eye thing away. Eat colorful fruits and vegetables. Another way you can think about this, does it rot? Shelf life of a Twinkie. How disgusting is that? The Twinkie will tell you, oh no, it's only like 3 months or something like that. A professor in Maine put one on a shelf for 30 years and then ate it. And he said, it tasted pretty good. So when the apocalypse comes, get Twinkies. And beans, things like that. But anyway, if it rots, it's natural, it's healthy, it's good. If it doesn't rot, or if you need a pair of scissors to cut it open, it's probably not good. There's your nutrition lesson. I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a psychologist, but let's keep it simple, okay? Any questions with that? Okay. All right, foam rolling.
Oh, I like that.
You like that? That's what foam rolling is.
That's what we need.
Does anyone not know what foam rolling is? Okay. Do we have one here?
You should have one in the back.
All right. Do you grab one off the shelf? Please, thank you. So foam rolling is a way of self-massage. Okay? There's a bunch of different techniques. You can use a handheld stick, like a massage stick. The foam roller is one that you roll around on the ground. Have you ever seen anyone roll around on the ground like an idiot on top of a round cylinder? That's what we do. It is probably one of the best things. Who just said it's a savior?
Right.
Oh,
You said it, yeah, right? How long have you been rolling?
Since I ran the marathon last year, and after the shin splints, I started rolling. And
it helps?
The knee pain, everything.
Yeah.
Right away, before and after.
Awesome, thank you. Barbaric. All right, these are two different versions of foam rolling. If it's got knobs and spikes and all these things, it's going to be more painful.
yeah.
I like ridges and things like that. This one's a little aggressive. It does look like something from the barbarian age. A real smooth pink one like this, it's a little less aggressive. Absolutely the number one thing you guys can do, even if you've done it and you kind of do it periodically, do it regularly. A couple minutes a day will make huge benefits. It helps your muscles and the connective tissue break up. It also helps your neurologic system. I love doing it before running. When we do our RunStrong workouts, I do it before we strength train. It really just helps free up trigger points and get blood flowing, wake up the nervous system. It's going to be the worst 3 minutes of your day when you do it, but it does get easier. Does it get easier?
It's easy.
Yeah, and you almost like it after a while.
It doesn't hurt after a while.
Yeah, yeah.
You get good pain.
We're totally lying. I paid him $20 to say that. Never gets better. All right. Dynamic warm-up. Dynamic warm-up is any sort of active warm-up that you do before you run. Okay, this happens to be in that room against that wall right there. Two of my elite runners that I had the fortunate opportunity of working with. This is called a running jack. And as you can see, it's not very hard. They're working on their arm swing, making sure they have proper arm swing. They're hitting on their midfoot, nice and light. You can't hear them. It's a form of a dynamic warm-up. Okay? There's a million different versions. And if you've been to any of my classes, we do soldier kicks, we do lunge walks, we do all sorts of stuff. Get your heart rate up. The purpose of the dynamic warm-up is to increase your body temperature by about 3 degrees, increase your blood flow, get you ready for the workout, whether it's a strength workout or a run. Okay? Another great thing you can do. Neither one of these requires a visit with a healthcare professional or a copay. Even better, right? Dynamic warm-up is free to show you how to do it. I'll show you, I'll let you know later how you can get some ideas. Motion, we talked about that. You do not need to be this flexible. Yeah. But again, you don't. If you know you're tight, or if you need a healthcare professional to find out and assess you, work on what's not normal, make it normal, move on. Okay? Strength, look at that. Huh? That was Peter a few years ago, before he broke his arm. So the point of strength training for runners is not this. I don't know what that is. That's not the point of strength training for runners. What we do will not make you big, will not make you bulky, will not add weight, but it's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you more functional. It's going to get you more stable on one leg. That's the point of a good strength program for runners. Most people avoid it because they think that's strength training. And nowadays, what's a company out there that starts with a C that everyone's doing in groups? CrossFit, right? CrossFit fits a niche, right? They're doing some wonderful things. They're not going to make runners the best runners in the world by doing CrossFit. And a lot of people do get hurt by doing it. But strength training doesn't have to be that aggressive, okay? I do it again? Adequate rest. Get your sleep, okay? It's hugely important. All right, almost done. So, RunStrong, this is kind of the education of how I developed a class that I do called RunStrong. We've done it regularly in the past. I've been doing it for 10 years. It basically takes the foam rolling, the dynamic warm-up, and all the strengthening you need, and we put it into a 45 to 1 hour class. Klaus, you've done it, right?
Yes,
Hard?
2 times. Yeah.
Was it hard, easy,
No, it was good. I really enjoyed
challenging?
it. Yeah, that's why I came back.
Yeah, great. So, but basically you can do those things, you can keep it simple. It doesn't have to, you don't need a gym membership, you don't need to spend hours a day doing it, okay? So, if you don't have a pen, I've got some pens up here, feel free to grab one and keep it. If you guys email me, and I've got brochures up here, mike@foundationperformance.com. Put in the subject heading, runner link. I will send you a link of Mike's Big 5 dynamic warm-up, strength training and stretching exercises that you guys should be incorporating. The little video you saw, 15 videos, I'll get out of the way so you guys can take pictures. There's 15 videos on there that you will access, and you'll have unlimited access to it. That'll show you basically the 5 basic ones that I think you guys should be incorporating. Okay? If you need to get a hold of me, again, I'm going to be hanging out for a bit. I've got some information over here. These are some of the other websites of things I'm doing. You guys are awesome. You are wicked awesome runners now. So, I tell you what, Peter, why don't you go? I'll hang around after Peter is done for questions. Unless you guys have a quick question right now, I'd be more than happy. I don't want to take the stage too much longer, but I'll be around till the end.
Mike, why don't you take a few minutes?
You sure?
Yeah, somebody has some questions. Take a few minutes.
Anyone have any questions? Come on, Peter said I had to stay
Come
up
on,
here.
somebody's got a question.
No? Okay. That's
Mike,
fine.
do you do a run gait analysis?
I do.
Do you?
I do.
It's awesome. What do you do in the run gait? What does a
This
run
is
gait
what-
analysis consist of? If somebody calls you and says, I want to do a run gait analysis.
Sure.
What is
All
that?
right. So what Peter's talking about, the pictures I showed you of the girl with the dropped hip, what we do with runners is you come in, we videotape you running from all 4 sides of your body. We also videotape you walking barefoot. Same thing, all 4 sides of your body. And we analyze it. I've got software I can break down angles and distance your foot hits from the center of mass, and we do all these measurements, and we look for things that could be leading to injury. If you have an asymmetry where one side is not hitting like the other one, we can do performance information as well. Oh, if you just got your leg underneath you a little bit more, we can get more pullback, we can make you faster. So we can give you information like that. Peter and I have done a ton of clinics together for triathletes and runners. If you guys are interested in learning more about that, you've got my email, you've got my information. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. Any other questions, Peter?
Regarding sneakers,
Yes.
is it basically if you find a pair of sneakers that's comfortable for you, regardless of whether they're really pricey or mid-range, that you should run in those as long as you find you don't get injured?
Yes and no. Don't worry about price. The more expensive sneaker doesn't mean it's better for you. Is Eric still here? Sorry, Eric. He's not here. But comfort also doesn't mean it's the right shoe either. Because it's comfortable, if you need a lot of support, I can give you a nice cushioned shoe in there with a it feels like you're standing on toilet paper rolls. It'll be the most comfortable shoe you put in, but if you need a little, the hope is, but if you need a little support, you're not going to get it from that. So if you, like these guys are great, these guys know what they're doing, so if they tell you the type of shoe you need to be in, if it's on sale or not on sale, as long as you know should you be in a motion control, should you be in a cushioning, should you be in a stability shoe, then you can play around with different brands and different price ranges, but comfort is not the key to finding the right shoe, okay?
But if you're running a shoe that you don't get injured in, you should stick with that sneaker.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it,
Gotcha.
right? Someone else's right hand? No? Did I scare you? All right, awesome.
No, I'm just gonna ask it later.
You sure?
Yeah.
Come on, we're all.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So the great Peter Russo is next. We'll take like 2 minutes. He's going to set up his computer. Should I say a little bit about you, Peter?
What's to say?
Peter's the man. Peter's the head of Russo Racing. I've known Peter for way too long. As you can see, he gets hurt every once in a while, so we spend time together.
A lot of time.
But in all seriousness, Peter and I talked years ago about doing some work together. I'm very picky about the way I do work with, because I'm not just going to show up to places and support someone that I don't believe in. Peter, one of the best running coaches I've ever seen. He looks at the whole body. A lot of the stuff that I talked about here, he encompasses in his training, and also if he needs help, he calls on us, which we love. But Peter's going to talk about training.
We're going to talk a little bit, actually, I'm going to talk a little bit further about injury prevention, more from a coach's perspective, and tie in with some of going over what Mike said, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about pacing and how you want to pace your training and your racing.
Awesome.
And I'm going to try to be quick about it.
Awesome. Grab a beer, grab a bathroom, 2 minutes, Peter will be ready. Thank you, guys.
Eventually, I ended up